In today's video, we're discussing a magic card that has jumped over 1,600%. Hi everyone, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. Thanks again for hanging out today for another video, a card spike video. The card we're discussing has jumped 1,600%, and you know we don't waste time with these videos. You want to get right to the meat of what's going on. So take a look at this card. This is Barbara White, Extended Art, Universes Beyond, Doctor Who. This card has an average price of $16.23, the market price of $2.17, and you can see there on the screen the monthly change is $15.70. Why are people buying Barbara? I mean, other than the cool name, why are we getting involved in this card, and why is the card becoming so popular? Well, Barbara here is a legendary creature, human advisor. 1 white mana, 1 other for a 1/3. Now, the text on these cards is always so important, and it's no different with this particular card. History teacher. Sagas you control have read ahead. As a saga enters the battlefield, choose a chapter and start with that many lore counters. Skipped chapters do not trigger. Very important. It also has Doctor's Companion. You can have 2 commanders if the other one is a doctor. And there's lots of great doctors out there. Don't forget that, but just look at her and say, this is a pretty crazy card. And there's lots of reasons why. Now, before we start going through all the reasons why a card like this suddenly spikes, we have to start at the beginning of a story like this. This card has a particular effect, and a new set came along. Well, that new set is Final Fantasy. It's been selling like bonkers, but it's slowing down right now. But that doesn't mean that players aren't looking for ways to make these cards work inside the set. And if you look at Final Fantasy as a whole set, it's very large. There's lots of parts of the set that aren't really even explored yet by the mass of players, and it will take time for certain cards to be developed, explored, and exploited in later games. Now, a card like Barbara, though, is pretty obvious what's going on, and that is the Saga Transition. When you look at Final Fantasy cards and you look at the Saga cards within, well, things can get pretty nutty pretty quick. So now let's talk about that. What else is going on with Barbara, the Saga Transition? When you look at a card like Summon Shiva, this thing is a 5 casting cost, 4/5 Saga, okay? But don't forget, when Barbara's there, when this thing comes in, you get to pick. Now, why would you want to pick a card like this? Well, as a 5 casting cost, if you look at the last Saga ability, Diamond Dust, draw a card for each tapped creature your opponent controls. So you might want to use one of the early Saga cards, but if you're in a game where a mass of creatures has just hit you in Commander, okay? Now, the funny thing is, it doesn't have to be you, does it? It can be anybody who got attacked. And then you cast this out, jump to this one, and you could be drawing a bucket load of cards, basically drawing your entire deck in some cases, depending on what type of commander deck they're playing. And the trigger on this is going to be massive. And you're skipping the first 2 rounds if you want to, or you can use them. Barbara is giving you the option, and that option can be deadly in so many different styles of commander play. Now, if we jumped ahead here and I showed you this one here, Summon Knights of Round. I know a lot of people have problems with this card, but let's just look at the last Saga ability. This thing comes in and it says Ultimate End if you jumped to the last Saga, if you waited all these turns. Other creatures you control get +2/+2 until end of turn and put an indestructible counter on each of them. There may be a reason why you want that effect to go off. There may be a reason you got like 5 or 6 creatures out, you got 2 or 3 creatures. I don't care. Being able to put an indestructible counter and giving them all +2/+2 until end of turn could be the game-ending effect. And it's because of Barbara. Good old Barbara. She's reading her book. She's advising us on what to do. And she's saying, I don't think you really care about the 2/2 knights. For 4 turns, you want to move faster. You want to be quicker to get to the indestructible counter. Now, there are reasons, of course, to build up the knights in a typical deck in Standard. But in the case of Commander, where Barbara is going to be played, you're going to look at this a whole different way. And that is what the Knights of Round endgame effect is going to be, and how you can manipulate that ability to either board wipe, clear things out, make your guys be indestructible so they can't be destroyed. Insanity can ensue. Now, let's not forget even cards like the Summon GF Cerberus, okay? Now, the last ability, Triple. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it twice. Then you may choose new targets for the copies. In a multicolored deck of some incredible, weird way, I can picture this thing being abused in so many crazy ways that it would just be insane to think what you could do with triple. And all the different spells that could affect. And it's all because Barbara is allowing that gameplay to unfold. And she was a cheap card, guys. Nobody even thought about it because there were some okay Saga cards out there. We've had Sagas since 2018. We've had these things for a while. But it wasn't until Final Fantasy was released with these Creature Saga cards that we see a card like Barbara become relevant. There have been Sagas for a while. 2018 is the first Saga cards from Dominaria. Remember those things? Beautiful. The new history of Benalia and stuff. Beautiful stained glass looking art. Crazy great cards. But Barbara wouldn't really trigger anything crazy to go along with it. You wouldn't really be putting two and two together. I'm sure some players tried some stuff. But then you come along with a new expanded format set like Final Fantasy, which reminds you kind of like Commander Legends, like Baldur's Gate, Battle for Baldur's Gate, because there are so many cards inside it with minor, cool, kind of twerky abilities that you're like, I don't know how this is all going to work, but some of these cards look pretty cool, right? And now you see a card like Barbara, who people remember, they looked up and they said, how can I make these Sagas be better? How can I make Shiva work and Cerberus work and even Knights of Round? Like, how are these going to be manipulated inside my deck? If I can cheat it onto the battlefield, Barbara's going to trigger this, and I can choose which Saga I want to appear. And there's lots of other Sagas out there, guys. I just chose this sampling to share with you and show the effectiveness of what Final Fantasy is bringing to the table and why cards like this will continue to spike, why the prices will continue to go up in the long run on a whole host of minor cards that a lot of players didn't give a second look. And that includes myself. I didn't look at Barbara and think much of it. I said, yeah, there's some Saga cards. All right, and that was it. I never gave a second glance until now. Now, the sales are highly significant. This card has sold thousands of copies. It's going to be in the top 10 this weekend. It's big. At first, I thought it may have been a fluke when the sales started coming in, but after I verified it, yep, we're good, and they're massive. Now, cards like this, in the past, I would have told you, they're going to go down. They're not going to stay at a high, hyped-up price. But I think with a card like Barbara, you're going to see it drag on for a bit. It's probably going to fall to around the $5 to $7 level over time. So yes, it's going to come down. It'll be a little more gradual. It won't be sharp. There are players who are going to realize this and watch videos like this and slowly build up ideas they want to try out. And Barbara is going to be a key component of that. Whether it's going to be a commander card or just a card inside your deck, there's lots of reasons to do either or both. So keep that stuff in mind. I love the idea of Barbara being the commander and choosing another type of doctor to go with it, but I'm also keen on just putting cards like that in a deck and seeing what happens. I like to try things out in Commander. It's a lot of fun. It's casual format. You got to have a good time. And let's face it, this isn't the last time these things are going to happen. But the key will be that if you have an idea, if you see something coming up in a Wizard set, and you say, that's kind of a cool concept, it is very hard to be first. To be the one who makes that initial buy and speculate on a card. A lot of players do it, but it's very hard to be first and actually make a real chunk of money at it. So a lot of players do kind of a scattershot thing, buy a few cards they think are interesting or ideas they have they want to build on. We always need to remember that as Wizards of the Coast evolves the game and changes how things were done in the past, a simple enchantment card like Protection from Green becomes Green Ward, becomes whatever else you want to imagine, regeneration. These enchantments evolved. And now we have these Saga cards that are actually living creatures and have effects tied into them. Because of that, the evolution of the game is going to continue to change, and cards like this are going to be very effective for a while, then they'll kind of pass on, nobody will think about them, then they'll come back again. You can wait for a card like Barbara to drop to the appropriate level and a point of value that you think it's worth buying, but a card like that, having it for the long term, if you intend on building with Saga cards in the future, it's a good card to have. It's actually going to be one of these staple cards you're going to want to have. And that guarantees a certain level of value for that card over the long run. I still say $5 to $7. I could be wrong. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to drop in that comment section about this card. And if you can think of another crazy Saga card that you would like to link with that, put it in the comments. I'd love to know the names, okay? Thanks again for hanging out. Thanks for being here on the channel today. I hope you found this card spike video informative. And of course, if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget, like and subscribe to my channel. Turn on your notification bells because I put out new content every single day. Guys, have a great one. See you tomorrow. Good old Barbara. You gotta love it, man. Just a great old-fashioned name. It brings back memories. We're here at the end of the video. These are all the patrons, the YouTube membership members. Those patrons who support each and every month are the cornerstone of this channel. So thank you again for that continued support, as well as my YouTube membership members who continue to support each and every month. Guys, without you, there's no channel, so thanks again for supporting. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great one, everyone. Barbara's not bad, man. I missed that one. Ramble Jamble.